I haven't talked to them.
No.
They see it. You talk to some of the guys now.
So it'll be open nominations like we always do.
I'm not a miracle worker.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. We will have a roll call of members. Mr. Orozco,
Present.
Ms. Crumley,
Present.
Mrs. Cameron,
Present.
Ms. Paez,
Present.
and Mr. Kroll.
Present.
So we do have a quorum. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I thought yes, a perfect mixture of United cultures. I haven't done that in a really long time.
Become habit now.
So before we get started with the election of officers, I'd like to thank Columbus Elementary for hosting us.
Yay.
I know that it is something the board always looks forward to, and it is something that Superintendent Chavez misses. She is on Zoom. You guys can't see her, but she'll come out of that little owl here whenever she decides to speak.
I'm so sorry. I'm super sick and I didn't want to share my present with everyone.
Get well soon.
So with that, per board policy, we have to reorganize every January. So the way it'll work is I will open up the floor for nominations. If we have more than one nominee for the office of president, each board member has ballots in front of them that they'll cast their vote for whoever was nominated. We'll collect them, we'll tally them up, and that'll be the president. Does the board have any questions?
No.
Okay, with that, we open the floor for nominations for board president. And it does not require a second.
I'll nominate Bobby Orozco for board president.
I'll second that.
Okay, it doesn't require a
Okay,
second.
well, I know.
Do we have any other nominees? Hearing none, I will go ahead and do a roll call to appoint Mr. Orozco as president. Mr. Kroll,
Yes.
Ms. Paez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron,
Yes.
Ms. Crumley,
Yes.
Mr. Orozco.
Yes.
Congratulations, President Orozco. The meeting is now yours. So have to vote.
Thank you. So now we're on to the ballot for vice president. Do we have any?
I nominate Mrs. Cameron for vice president.
Yes.
Hearing none, I'll do the roll call since we don't have a secretary yet. Mr. Kroll,
Yes.
Mrs. Paez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron,
I guess yes.
Mrs. Crumley,
Yes.
Mr. Orozco.
Yes. On to ballot for secretary.
Do we have any nominations for secretary?
I'll nominate Mr. Cole for secretary.
Okay, we have Mr. Kroll nominated. Any others? Hearing none, Mr. Kroll,
Yes.
Mrs. Paez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron,
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley,
Yes.
Mr. Orozco.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I will move the approval of the agenda.
Okay. We, onto approval of agenda, any changes to the agenda?
We have no changes.
I'd like to note just one change. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
We have Miss Amy Delaney still on Hernandez on there, and I'd like to have the agenda changed to reflect Miss Ashley Crumley. That was just an oversight on our part.
Yeah.
All right. If that's all, then on to any nominations for the approval or a motion?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Mr. Kroll, can you take roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Mrs. Crumley?
Yes. Oh, who'd you say?
Mrs. Crumley?
Oh, Crumley.
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
Agenda has been approved. On to public comment.
And we have no public comment at this time.
Okay. So on to approval of consent agenda.
I so move the approval of our consent agenda.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Kroll, can you take roll?
Yes. Sir? Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yeah.
Mr. Crowe, yes. Mr. Orozco?
Yes.
So action item 8A, we have the consideration and approval of out-of-state travel for JROTC to attend a competition in Arizona, and we have Sergeant Ray here with us tonight. Do you mind telling us a little bit about the competition and what the kids expect to experience?
Yes, so how everybody doing? So I submitted this, request to go and compete. The JROTC program, we must compete is mandatory twice a year in some kind of competition. So we submitted the, request, right before the holiday break. I'm not sure what took place, but, the competition is Saturday. We have an ongoing obstacle course at the school that is, maybe a month away from being completely built. The students are practicing hard for this competition this weekend. They're prepared, and we just want to go and put on a great performance for the community.
Where is El Mirage?
That's north of Mesa, Arizona. It's probably like 7 hours.
That's a good long drive.
It is.
Thank you.
How many kids are going to be taking?
We're taking 26 students.
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So go ahead and-
Do we need a motion?
Any other questions, comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move for approval of out-of-state travel for our JROTC to attend a competition in El Mirage, Arizona, January 19th through 2024.
I'll
Do I-
second that.
Thank you. Mr. Kroll, would you take roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you, board members.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good week.
You too.
And now we'll have Ms. Doyle present the budget adjustment requests.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. Before you, you do have two budget adjustments. The first one is our initial budget for our near-peer tutoring program, which has our high school students going to tutor in our schools from K-8. So that's the first adjustment that we have. And then the second one is just where I'm requesting budget authority to the extent that we have had cash. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to add that the near peer tutoring is part of our Ed Rising CTE program in our Grow Your Own Teacher program. And we have about 40 kids that are going to participate in that and receive payment for the training and then payment for doing tutoring services in our elementary schools and intermediate school and middle school.
That's across the district for the elementary schools.
It is, yes.
Good.
What did you, I'm sorry, I didn't.
I just asked if that was across all the elementary schools,
Thank
the
you.
tutoring, so yeah. Good. That's good.
So how many hours do they work and what's their pay rate?
Their pay rate is minimum wage, and Robin can speak a
And they
little
can
bit
work
more.
up to 4 hours a week. And they vary, you know, depending on their schedule, their regular school schedule.
Oh, 4 hours.
And the needs that are at the schools.
Up to 4, so not necessarily 4.
Depending on how it fits in with their schedule.
Now with this tutoring, maybe you asked it and my mind was somewhere else. Mr. President, I'm sorry. Is this during the day?
So it is, they can work either during the regular school day, and some of them are working during the after-school program.
Okay. Depends on their schedule.
Right, and when the school needs them,
Okay,
or would like.
but they wouldn't be taken out of classes to go.
So it is a class that they take at the high school, and then some of them are seniors, so it's their, you know, they have a shortened class schedule already, and so they go during that time.
Okay,
Yeah, it's the class they did. Right? Yeah.
thank you.
Do they have this in Columbus?
They will, yeah, we will have it here in Columbus as well. They're serving my little school, all elementary, 6th grade, and Red Mountain.
And how are the 30 to 40 kids selected for the program?
They're the students that are in the class.
So do they,
have signed up. for
they
the
signed
class.
up? Okay.
The teacher signs them up?
No, so these are students that are interested in becoming teachers.
Oh.
And so they have registered for this class at the high school. And so this is it's an internship for them.
It's
Yeah.
a TT program, so they start in freshman year and they go sophomore, junior. They want to be teachers, so they take these courses and it's a class.
Okay.
So it's part of their class.
Okay.
And the only ones getting paid are juniors and seniors. Freshmen and sophomores don't participate.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
may I ask, they're getting credit for this? Are they getting paid?
Yes.
Just the ones that are working out of the schools will get paid. So we have the class is offered or available for 9 through 12.
Uh-huh.
But we have juniors and seniors that are going out to the elementary schools, and those that are doing that will get paid for it. And that's what Leslie's presenting to you tonight for approval.
Now, as far as transportation, if there's not a vehicle, or is there transportation for them to
I was
get?
afraid that was gonna. So when we wrote the grant, when we presented this to you guys initially, we did ask for transportation, and that's what was approved. However, we received word from the state that they are not going to approve paying for transportation through the grant. Now, Mrs. Chavez is committed to seeing this through, and so we will find the funds, but before we go there, we are going to go back to the state, and that's why it was approved initially and why they've changed it.
Yeah.
Some of the students have transportation, and so they already drive to school. And right now, what's happening is we do have one of the teachers that can transport, and so she's using the school Suburban to transport some of them. And the ones that are going to be here in Columbus, they're going to get on the school bus that buses the elementary kids here, and then they'll ride it home, and they're going to stay all day.
Oh,
So they'll work 1 day or 2 days a week, all day here.
Oh, that's good.
So we're working it out. We're still meeting with the teachers, but
It brings another thought, excuse me, Mr. President. Another thought is, what about liability of kids driving their own way? And I know they've been doing it, but it just hit me on the liability of our students going out during the school day.
so, that's a good question, but they are, there are already students that are driving to and from school.
Our nursing
And
program,
already.
our nursing program that has been there for years, the students who have vehicles transport themselves to the job sites as well.
Do you take note of their insurance and their license when they do that?
If they park
If they
on,
park on campus, yes. So we do have students that park off campus, and those are the students that we don't have the documentation. But if they're in campus, we do have insurance, everything for them on file.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion that we approve the budget adjustment request. The ESSER 3 near peer tutoring 0108 IB, also the student nutrition 01091.
Okay, I have a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Cole, would you take roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Crumley,
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron,
Yes.
Mrs. Paez,
Yes.
Mr. Orozco,
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
Okay, moving on to action item C, consideration and approval of a memorandum of understanding with the city of Deming regarding EJ Hooten Complex. It's a long sentence. The district has partnered with the city of Deming to re-turf one of those softball fields at the city fields as we know it, or EJ Hooten Complex. Mr. Parker and his team have kind of taken the lead on that. And Mr. Chavez and Superintendent Chavez have met with the city of Deming for this partnership. What this MOU describes is the partnership that we'll have. So there's guidelines of when our baseball and softball teams have access to it, which I believe is November through May. And then just discussions of how much the district would pay for electricity per month while we have use of this field. And then is there anything you'd like to add, Mr. Parker?
Just as far as an update on the timeline, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, we are looking at a completion date of about 9th or 10th, coming up with some max tests and some other pieces, make sure that the field is ready for use right around the 3rd. So we're looking forward to kicking out the season and giving full use on that. We're all on schedule. It looks very nice. If you get a chance to drive by, you can see it. It really shines out the field. It's like, looks really, really good.
Yeah, seen it, it does look nice.
Mhm.
Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Mr. President, I would move approval of the memorandum of understanding with the city of Deming regarding the EJ Hooten complex use.
Okay, I have a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Kroll, would you take roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Crumley,
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron,
Yes.
Mrs. Paez,
Yes.
Mr. Orozco,
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes.
Okay, motion is passed. On to announcements. How many board member requests for agenda items?
I would like to request, hearing a little bit more about what's happening with the, solar project. We haven't been updated and I don't know, so.
We can definitely do that. We had some really exciting stuff actually yesterday. So we have
Good,
some really good things we can update.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other things? There will be a special board meeting on January 25th at 5:30 in Deming at the Emmett Shockley Administration Building
At the same time? At a regular time?
at 5:30.
5:30.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd also like to we just got word today. The Esperanza Child Care Center is fully licensed by the state, which has been a long, arduous process. Usually takes 2 years, and our team got it done in less than 9 months. And so huge shout out to Andy, Babs and George and Benny and that team they just did an amazing job getting that center ready and approved by the state. So just a huge congratulations to them.
The next regular board meeting will be February 15th, 2024. Meeting will be held at the Emmett Shockley Administration Building, 400 Cody Road in Denver, New Mexico. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
Second.
I'll second.
You can call roll, Mr. Paul.
Yes, sir. Mrs. Crumley,
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron,
Yes.
Mrs. Paez,
Yes.
Mr. Crowe, yes. Mr. Orozco.
Yes.